British police have confirmed a number of fatalities after reports of an explosion at Manchester Arena.
A state of emergency has been declared in France after at least 127 people were killed and 118 wounded, many of them critically.
Swedish police have arrested a man in connection to the deadly truck attack in central Stockholm. 4 people were killed and 15 more injured.
A truck has rammed into a Christmas market in Berlin, Germany this evening. At least 9 people have been killed. There are many injured.
At least 77 people have been killed in southern France when a truck ploughed deliberately, it seems, into a crowd watching Bastille Day fireworks.
There are no more arguments to be made.
Hello and welcome to Europa Weekly episode 74. I'm Blitz from Finland, and today, as always, is with me Phineas from Ireland. Say hello.
Hi, guys.
And special guest, Radarax from Austria. Say hello, Radarax.
Hello.
Now, we've had you on one episode a long time ago. Now, how long was that?
I believe that was back in, I want to say, late December, early January, somewhere around there.
Yeah. What did you talk about that episode?
Austria. I would talk about Austria.
Lauren Southern and how she just pretends to be brainwashed by Jews.
All right, yeah. God, yeah, that happened too, yeah.
I fucking love that episode. All right. So, yeah. Well, of course, Austria has been a bit in the news. Or was it France? I don't remember. It was in the Alps somewhere where Generation Identity did their valiant last stand. Held back 10,000 charging Muslims coming at them, trying to get into Europe. Was that in France?
That was in France.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, in Chamonix, right?
Yeah. I mean, should we talk about that right now, off the bat? It's because I only saw the pictures of them. And then I don't know, because I get all my news nowadays, at least this week, from Twitter. I don't know what is real and what is memeing.
They got a helicopter. Yeah, they got a helicopter and a big plastic fence. And they just rolled the fence out.
Oh no, I thought they were gonna, like, when the Muslims were coming up the slope, they were at the top of the slope, right? And they would have made a huge snowball and then rolled it into the crowd coming at them. It'd be like I saw pictures posted of the defense of Helm's Deep, stuff like that. And I think the funniest thing I saw, I was in one of the Discord groups, Faust's Discord, of course, you know, where all the crazy people go. And there was this Swedish poster who was wondering, like, why aren't they armed? What? This should be a top 1 priority, is that they should have weapons. Like, the fuck? I just assume that he's thinking that Generation Identity is some sort of paramilitary organization. They're literally holding the line and then to get out of the deepest jungles of Africa, known as Italy, crossing the border into France.
Those cuts haven't even built the Hindenburg line. You're never going to get anything done.
I wish they were at that stage already.
There's not a single machine gun nest there. A complete waste of time.
French never learned. They build a defensive line and the enemy just literally walks right around it, the side, every single time. How are they going to keep them out at all? But some people were confused, actually thinking that the guys from Generation Identity had like plans to physically stop Muslims at the border, like throw them out, beating them with batons, trying to get in. So I'm sorry to say, guys, but that doesn't really work. That's a great way of getting thrown into a jail cell for the remainder of your youth.
To be fair, they're pretty clear that they're not actually posting images of themselves touching any of the newcomers. They're smart enough to not post about their paramilitary activities.
No. It's just a recreation of of Hannibal's invasion of Europe, guys. Yeah. And it's just a big show. It's not real. It's just yeah.
It's like fuck. If Hannibal went from North Africa to Italy, when did he leave Africa? Checkmate, historians. No, but honestly, the generation identity, they're like cucks. I got a message from our good friend Patrick Casey, who's the leader of Identity Eurasia, and he said that he made I called him up and asked him what does he think about this kind of activism, and he said it was really weak. He said that he doesn't like Civcucks like generation identity, and said that if he had been there, he had shot down the helicopter and made sure that not a single quote-unquote shitskin would have made it alive across the border. Now, he's a pretty scary dude, this Patrick Casey, but he likes to keep it radical. I guess that works better in America.
Right, yes, in America, where basically, the smallest thing will get you in trouble with the police, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so they needed actually 10 Identity Europa guys to hold him back. Otherwise, he would have literally ripped the head off of a police officer in Charlottesville. He's a scary dude, that Patrick Casey. It's like
he would have taken the generation into the helicopter and crashed it into the migrants.
Classic Patrick.
Definitely scared.
Oh man. If you imagine Patrick Casey when he does activism, he's sort of like what you would get if you would take Arnold Schwarzenegger, make him really racist, and then put him on PCP, and that's basically what Patrick Casey is on the streets.
I mean, what is the official stance here on Identity Europa in the US and things like that? I mean, what do you think? What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, it's really good.
Patrick Casey's a pretty cool guy.
All memeing aside, I definitely think that he's much more level-headed than any of the other Americans in the alt-right I've ever spoken to. Like I definitely can see that there's something going on behind those eyes more than where is Burger. There's actually like some sort of plan and strategy, and I like to see that in leadership figures. So he's definitely taking the organization in the correct order, which isn't Wignat activism where you fight on the streets and look like douchebags, basically.
Right.
All right, but if we're gonna do some actual news here, I was going to talk about the Finland NEETbux experiment.
Oh, nice.
Phineas, you heard about this, right?
Yeah. So 2,000 random people were selected and given about the equivalent of $650 a month every month for 2 years. And unfortunately, it was not the great success that Comrade Corbyn promised. And it looks like it's being cancelled. Press F for those heroic needs.
The NEETbux experiment is, of course, referring to the Universal Basic Income program that Finland tried. It was supposed to be expanded this year, but instead the program was scrapped preemptively, saying the government saying that it had concerns that the results we were seeing was that people were actually working less and not more, as some left-wing economic theorists had proposed. Now, in the defense of the experiment, the researchers said that 2 years, which was the time this experiment was undergoing, is too short of a time to draw any conclusive conclusions from the experiment, like what it actually does. The government decided that they wanted to take basically their welfare program in a completely different, the opposite direction. We passed the so-called activity model, which is going to replace the UBI system. The activity model means that if you are not looking for a job or have been employed at all for a certain amount of time, then you lose all your benefits, or some of them. So basically, you will get less when you work less. It doesn't matter if you don't try. Then I think the government, the current one we have, is full of people who worship the free market. The good thing about that is that they're literally it comes across like they're breaking into lazy hipsters' homes and dragging them out on the street, forcing them to do menial labor. It's the opposite now of the UBI, and lots of journalists are upset that this utopian experiment has now been buried. It'll probably, if the left wing wins the next election, the UBI program will be resurrected from its grave, and they'll give it a new try. But what happened is exactly what we all knew what was going to happen. They were transformed into NEETs, basically. That's why it's called NEETbux, not UBI. So everybody just, were comfortable living at home, not having to work. Yeah.
But they only selected people who are already unemployed to receive the NEETbux.
That's true. They were expecting to expand the program this year, giving it to people who are already employed and pensioners and students, but that never came to fruition because the government cited fears that if you give this to these people, then they might actually work less, or students might just get so comfortable on sucking on the government's teeth that they might not never get into the job market. Understandable. That's one of the problems with the welfare state. It creates needs, and NEETbux was just the natural evolution of that. Now, I'm all for NEETbux because we would have a greater pool of needs to pull from, which means that the alt-right will grow in numbers.
Right. Yeah. Like I was just about to say, like there are positives to this as well, and one of them would be people have more time to think about how actually screwed the situation in their countries are. Like I think people who are so busy with work, they're just too busy. They can't see. I mean, sure, they see what's going on, but they don't have time to really dwell on it. But if people have time to dwell on it, that gives them more of a chance to act on it as well. So who knows?
The thing is that nobody's done any of the calculations and thought about it seriously. If you look at just the amount of money it would take for the population of Finland to give universal basic income to everyone constantly every month, the amount of money is so high it couldn't come from anywhere, just bankrupt everything. And that's another thing I love about the system, because I subscribe to like Project Mayhem political theory, like just fuck it all, yeah, just destroy my civilization, fam. Like let's have a project that completely ruins an entire generation and bankrupts the system. I love it. Like I thought that it was so utopian that I couldn't have wished for a better thing. It's almost like those leftists in Germany who want to nationalize all the banks, which I also think is pretty hilarious. Just do it, fam. Just fuck my economy up.
Yeah, just move to the countryside and buy a farm and live a simple life, man. It's
I support hyperinflation, which means I support UBI.
Yes. We need less people working and more people consuming. Posting. Just they should stop consuming jeans and Coca-Cola, start consuming content. Okay?
Exactly.
This is how we save the white race, okay? Start it's really hard when you're at the workplace and you're talking with people. Or this happens also to me at the bar constantly. You're talking to them and they have these shit takes, it's like, dude, I'm pretty radical. And I go, oh, really? Like, how? Well, I don't like to say this because I have very, very radical political ideas. And I'm like, it's like, interesting. Okay. Oh, wow. Really? Tell me. I'm very much to hear it. Don't worry. I'm not judging type. It's like, well, have you heard about this YouTuber called Sargon of Akkad? I can't tell you how many times this has happened to me. And that when I feel like, oh, shit, he might actually be like /our guys. And then it's just always this, it's like some really milquetoast, like have these really shit takes. Did you know that the liberals are the real racists? Fuck off, man. Oh man, so shit takes, and this is happens when you consume shit content or not enough of it. This is what happens. I would definitely want to have some universal basic content distribution instead, so that these shit takes could finally just end. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's a journey. Okay, so they're gonna start with Sargon of Akkad, and who knows? I mean, they're gonna end with what's a really radical guy that they can end with? I don't know. They can just end with us, for example. You know, they can start with Sargon of Akkad, scroll down the comments, and see one of our guys just, you know, post something about something a little more, you know, something a little more radical, and that's gonna progressively push them into the right direction. So, you know, it's not. I think Sargon of Akkad is just the first step, guys. No worries, really, no worries. I'm optimistic.
Well, we are just a step on the way. After that is Varg Vikernes, which is
and then
way more woke. Yeah. After you've come to our level, you start looking beyond us, and you find Varg Vikernes, and it's like, stabbing my band members in the skull sure does sound like a fair political philosophy.
Hey, that was self-defense. Well, the first was self-defense. I don't know about the other 32 stabs, but...
Damn, absolute mad lad. Love it. It's like... it's like that picture you posted, the actual history of Europe. For 100,000 years, Europe prospered under its native religion, neo-paganism. Europe was very united in those days, and people mainly used weapons for live-action role-playing. The Vikings, who were the best neo-pagans, went all around the world spreading their Hyperborean technology, even as far as India. To make money, they offered riverside cruises to Celtic women. For some reason, their favorite route was down the Volga to lands frequented by Muslim merchants. However, peace was soon to end as a fearsome threat came to the fore: Christians. They began by teaching Greeks bad things which were previously unknown to neo-pagans. The goal of Christians was to create an evil race of white foot soldiers with ugly brown eyes, and they achieved this through Semitic magic that they have learned from their good friends, the Jews. Eventually, the blue-eyed Normans, one of the last groups defending neo-paganism, also fell to Christian sorcery. Nonetheless, they were not devout and had to be dragged to church every Sunday. Once Europe was totally under Christian control, they burnt down the great Norse universities and libraries, and even rewrote the sagas to include naughty bits that weren't there before. But hope is not lost. Intellectuals like Varg Vikernes devote their lives to the neo-pagan cause and prepare for the coming ice age that will wipe out all brown-eyed devils once and for all. Thank you, Based Varg. So,
holy crap.
Our future is in your hands.
No, man. I mean, the guy, it's compelling arguments. You have to give it some credit, right?
I said this privately before, but Varg is a real-life, slice-of-life anime. That's his YouTube channel. He's raising his kids in the middle of nowhere, waiting for the Ice Age.
I laughed so hard when I rewatched some of his videos where he's talking in Norwegian with his wife, finding out that his wife is an autistic French woman who he forced to learn Norwegian because he refused to learn French. So he lives in the woods there with his now Norwegian-speaking wife. I mean, credit to her because she speaks good Norwegian, but I guess that you do pick up the language after a while if you're, locked into a hut in the middle of the woods with a crazy person.
We should totally start like a charity fund for his wife, and his kids too.
She has her own YouTube channel in French, and I'll say she is definitely crazier than Varg.
Nice. It's so she is basically, she's Varg level crazy, but she's also a woman, which adds to it. So
they're a perfect match.
Love it. That's why they have 6 children. I really wonder what his children are gonna turn out to be. Oh, nice. That would be a dream, to when I'm older and like his daughter turns 18. If I convert to neo-paganism, he can maybe marry off his daughter, and I can keep her in the kitchen as a trophy to pump out children and make me sandwiches. Then I'll just force her to learn my language. Fuck off. That'd be great. Oh man, thumbs up to Varg Vikernes, absolute mad lad. One day we're gonna make an anime out of it. Animators, get on it.
To be fair, I think I'd unironically do that if I ever get married to a girl who can't speak Irish.
That's the most alpha thing you can do.
I knew a couple or kind of internet friends with and his wife spoke German, but he didn't. So she spoke nothing but German to him for like a year until after they were married. I think
nice. I mean, that must suck though. Having to learn a language like that has to. I mean, it's probably the best way to learn it, but it probably sucks. I mean, it just a process. Imagine you guys get into like an argument or something, and Varg is just like flaring Norwegian at her, and she understands maybe 2% of it. Like, what is she supposed to do? I don't know.
She has to learn the language because there is in a woman's nature. She has to yap at you. She has to go, "Man, why haven't you picked up the kids yet, Mama?" So if you just you're completely unresponsive when she doesn't do it in the correct language, you push her button so hard that she will, out of spite, learn your language just so she can yap at you in a way that you respond.
Varg lives on a tiny ranch, making money selling RPGs and making YouTube videos. So, like, what's they even argue over?
I mean,
I imagine they have a very tranquil life.
Hats off to the guy. I mean, I must say, don't listen to what he says. Bretons aren't like remnants of Genghis Khan's golden horde. All right, don't take his racial commentary seriously. But I do respect him for like being the Uberman who literally doesn't afraid of anything.
Who argues for like months with the golden one that literally everyone in Europe before like 300 AD had blonde hair.
What a dude. Seriously. All right. Rhetorix, do you want to, speaking of everyone having blonde hair, you want to talk about Austria?
Right, yeah. I mean, that's probably more Germany than Austria, man. But anyway, we're the dirty Germans.
Right.
So there's been a diplomatic clash with Turkey because Austria doesn't want Turkey campaigning for the elections, so they don't want Erdogan, our favorite democratically elected Middle Eastern leader, to do any campaigning for overseas Turks in. So, like for example, in the Netherlands, they were stopped. In Austria, they were stopped, and interestingly enough, he relies a lot on overseas Turks. There's probably more of a stronger support base for him overseas than there is right now domestically inland, which is interesting because I think the overseas Turks are the ones with the romantic idea of Turkey, and the ones living there see how crappy it is. So basically, there's been the government in Austria has banned this campaigning more or less, and now it's so funny because the foreign minister of Turkey is calling it undemocratic, so the double standard is incredible here. And we're in the midst of it right now. It'll be interesting to see how the Turks living here and across the whole Europe will react to this, because they chimped out not too long ago. I don't remember when exactly, but they chimped out at something very similar. I think especially in Holland, they came out full force and started breaking shit. And protesting and things like that, and that was put down rather well. I think they might just do that again, but it's just incredible that people have to tolerate this, that the native Europeans have to tolerate this kind of behavior because of in the name of so-called political freedom. When this guy is known to be, when Erdogan's known to be a corrupt and just a bad leader for the interests of Europe itself. I mean, he's the one who allowed the refugees to take off from Turkish shores into Greece and so on. So it'll be very interesting to see how the reactions arise from both sides. And yeah, I mean, that's basically all I can say about that. I don't know, guys, you want to talk about it?
Is it how bad is the situation in Austria otherwise?
It's more or less the same. I mean, there's a lot of noise coming from the government that they're cleaning things up, that they're sending people who are illegal away and so on, but in the cities, at least, you find the situation to be more or less the same as it was before the new government. I know it's still a little too early. I mean, they only came into power a few months ago, so hardly enough time has passed. But it's just it's depressing in a way to see how slow things are moving, but at the same time, like liberals are starting to realize that there's a lot of resentment towards them, which is good. The liberal parties, I mean, not liberals themselves, they're oblivious to everything, but the parties at least realize this, and they're changing their tone. So before they were like, well, we really need to integrate these people and keep them all, and now they're like, well, now we need to send away the illegals and only integrate the ones that have been already processed. And then now it's like even more strict. It's like, well, we have to integrate the ones who are processed, but like basically recheck those who have been caught in committing crimes, who have committed crimes, and reassess their eligibility to stay in the country. So I guess it's a positive way forward. I don't know. I mean, it seems to me,
So you're saying when what's the name of the guy who was elected in Austria?
Kurz.
Yeah. Was he or his friend the guy who there was a picture circulating of him when he was younger in like a guerrilla gear, holding a rifle,
right.
Playing race war in the forest when he was like a 20-something.
Yeah, I mean,
was that Kurz, or was it the?
I'm not entirely sure, actually. I think it was Kurz. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Kurz.
Yeah, okay, because I love that. I love that picture. I'm surprised that when he won the election, like a Panzer didn't burst through the wall in Parliament. He just opened fire on all the cocks. Did that not happen? Fuck. And I was promised so much more from the Austrian election. Maybe FPA are just, Sivnak cocks like everyone else. If I don't get results like this, I live on Twitter. My attention span is 30 seconds, and if the election doesn't happen like this, and then results are like that, then I'm so disappointed. I thought change was going to happen in a week or an hour at least, but damn, it's been a few months. I'm getting really impatient. I better go on the forum and shitpost.
Feel like it's change.
It's amazing though that this is how stubborn people are in the way that they think. Like you have, let's just take the Arabs for example, who plainly and loudly say, we hate this place, we think you guys are living the wrong way, and blah blah blah. And we think like they're very open about their hatred towards the natives, and yet the natives don't. That's not enough to get the natives angry for some reason. Like that's not even. If that's not enough, if someone's telling you in your face that they hate you and they don't like the way that you're living, isn't that enough to make you think twice about whether or not there's like a conflict in interests here, that perhaps this guy's this is like him and his ilk are a threat to the way that you're living, or something along those lines. No, it's not. You ask people, like you talk to regular people, and they're on another planet, so they don't really see any of this. In fact, they're just repeating the same crap that you hear from the liberal parties, and they genuinely believe in it. And the thing is, like, this is one country, a really small country of 7-8 million people, that has to bear the burden. Like, it has the second highest per capita refugee rate, I think, in the whole continent. The second highest, right? After Sweden, I think. And that's still, and all the problems we're seeing, and that's still not enough to have people are still scared about talking this in an open way. And don't be fooled by, the news which says, oh, Austria has just elected a far right government, blah blah blah. They're going crazy down there. No, it's not true. It's more or less the same. The status quo is just continuing, and people are scared, as always, to speak about the truth. So I don't know. It's just the way it is right now.
Just as an aside, what's the relations between the Austrian government and the Hungarian government?
Better.
Better? Yeah, since you are neighboring countries. So I'm just wondering that, Hungary is getting shit on by the EU now constantly. And I was wondering that since Austria is not part of the Visegrad countries, it's explicitly said that it's not going to go join the Visegrad 4. But they're not backing up Orban in the attacks they're getting from the EU.
Yeah, I mean, it's that Mongoloid hot blood really that's running in their veins. They actually have balls,
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird that they. I would think that because there was talk. I remember this right after the Austrian election. There was talk about, hey, should Austria now go and seek closer relations with the Visegrad 4, and they had to openly deny that no, we're not going to join the Visegrad group. But at least show some backing to Orban. I mean, you'd think that at least. I mean, all the leftist media was all like, literal Nazis have taken over in Austria. Like, literally, the Hitler meme is true. Like, look, Austria, Nazis, they're here. But then nothing came of it, really. You didn't.
Yeah. I mean, there's fundamentally no incentive in the EU to follow any kind of democratic to do your duty as a democratic representative, because you can be offered a job in Brussels and make much more money and have a far nicer job if you do as they tell you.
Exactly, and it's not. There's no laws in a representative democracy that means that you are legally responsible for the things for the havoc you wreak on the country you're responsible for. It's you're completely legally immune. So you take in 1 billion Muslims. They destroy the country. It's not your fault. It's the people who voted for you. Their fault. So that the lynch mobs can't come in.
Democracy.
So that's why the liberal media likes to paint democracy as something really negative, whereas republicanism is something better. Honestly, I don't even think democracy is a half bad system. I mean, if a angry mob could literally walk up to parliament and demand the blood of the Social Democrats, and that would be legal because mob rule, I would love that. That would be great. Like if I mean, my job, I'm a demagogue, right? And I want to live in a society where I can talk up an angry mob to be even more angry, and then walk up to the steps of parliament and demand action or blood, and then just ritually sacrifice a social democrat on the stairs, and it would be perfectly legal. That system, to me, sounds much more reasonable than the current one we have, where our elected officials who are supposed to work in the interest of the people work in the interests of international banking, financiers, and shitlibs in Brussels. So, of course, like, if we really, like, yeah, sure, I'm a Democrat. I love democracy. Now let's put the will of the people. Oh, what's that? The people want to see your head cut off? Well, I'm sorry, but it is a democracy after all. I think the Aztecs were more democratic in that sense, so that at least had ritual sacrifice every now and then.
Well, I mean, if we go back to paganism, we are perfectly able to do this. You know, we sacrifice a liberal to the sun god, and it's all good. You know, it's perfect.
Man, if only. Maybe one day we'll be able to get democracy in Europe. Let's hope. Let's hope for that.
Actual democracy, yeah. I don't know. I mean, look, it seems like there's currently a sort of rethinking in terms of Hungary and how close the government in Austria wants to align itself to that. Like, I think in January there were some big promises being made. Like you said, I think early on it seemed like, wow, this is going to be like a great coalition. They're going to build some kind of wall or something, and they're gonna make Central Europe great again. You know, all them combined. And now it's like, well, we see that Orban is being crapped on from the EU, and we don't want that. We don't want that treatment ourselves. So we're just gonna distance ourselves from him, and observe, like, basically just observe how this. I think that more, if anything, they're just testing the waters. Like, Orban is an experiment. He is the only person who's really stood up and said no to this, to the invasion. Like, one of the only people who's ever said that. And everyone's just waiting to see what can the EU actually do? Like, what can they do? What kick him out of the EU? It's going to be, he's still going to come out as a hero afterwards. You know, like, it's not going to, like, impose like, what are they going to actually do to a leader who doesn't cook? That's what I want to know.
It's worth noting, though, that EU courts and executives are completely and totally unprincipled. So, like, they probably will try to get him on, like, some retroactive crime, like making his presidency illegal after he's gone or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, every time somebody does something that goes against the liberal hive mind, basically, of what everyone who's liberal understands is the correct social justice cause to work for right now, they'll just do a paper dance and create some new law or regulation to make sure that their will is, lawful. And even if sometimes they don't even do that. It's a farce. It's not a real, like, rule of law here anymore. It's more like court intrigue at the European level. It's fucking these different power blocks are scheming against each other, trying to wrestle as much power from each other. It's like you say that we're all fair under the law. Like, fuck off, dude. This is not in any way a just system we're living under. It's an extremely unjust system. It's an extremely totalitarian system that allows for no change whatsoever from within in its current infrastructure. I mean, if somebody blew up the European Parliament, we would definitely become a more democratic Europe. I'm not saying that anybody would do that, but I'm saying that something like that could probably happen very soon, considering how much foreign population they're filling up with Brussels. That's a fun thing, actually, when you think about it, that this power centrum of Europe, Brussels, is one of the most multicultural and least safe places in all of Europe. No joke, it is safer to walk the streets at night in Belgrade, in Serbia, than it is to do in Brussels, because there's more violent Muslims in Brussels than there is in Belgrade.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to Belgians out there, but Brussels is not it's not a very nice place, I have to say. I mean, it's like it's just first of all, they have a example of what multiculturalism does right at their doorstep, and they're totally oblivious to it. But at the same time, one must really understand that they're also powerless in a way, because if some guy like Orban stands up to them and says, "No, I don't want that. I don't want this for my country," like they still have to have all the countries on board. As far as I'm concerned, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they still have to have all the countries on board if they want to take action against a particular government of a particular country. And there's maybe like 3-4 other countries that are going to back up Hungary anyway, so they can't do shit.
Depends on, they can put economic sanctions on the country without unilateral support, or it was one of the two. I keep forgetting, because there's two cards on the table, right? One is economic sanctions. Stop giving Poland and Hungary gibs. Hungary primarily, and the other one being revoking their voting rights. Now, I think because this, remember, this was created by leftists, so I think it's in the sense that you're always entitled to your gibs. All right, they can't touch it without unilateral support, but they can rescind your voting rights within the bloc if you don't conform to Mao values. Because, you know, I'm not sure. I'm just saying that this is most likely how it is, because that's how leftists usually set up their organizations.
Right. Well, that's the one. Like, unfortunately, the only part of Europe that's actually putting up a fight is the one that's receiving the most amount of like welfare money, which kind of sucks. But
no, that's great. Like, it's the best like middle finger to all these Eurococks. Is just take their money and then do the thing that they hate the most with it. You know, actually protecting your country. They're literally taking European grants and giving it to their own women to have more children to boost their birth rates. If the
genius,
the shit libs in Brussels are tearing the hair out of their skulls, screaming, "Ah, shit! They're having white Christian children! Stop it! Shut it down!" It's like a nightmare for these people. Oh no, they're trying to make their own new citizens instead of importing brown ones.
It's blonde genocide.
Yeah, it's counter genocide. Yeah.
how like Hungary is the NEET of Europe, because the only thing they do is they take money, take gibs, and then they post fashy things. That's basically what most of the people in the alt-right do anyways.
I think it's more like a brutalized dog rather than a NEET. It takes your money, it takes your food, but it still yells at you and barks and bites.
Oh man, yeah. But if the Germans would stop feeding the Poles, you know, it's I think the Poles would probably come to heel. I don't know.
Do you think?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know really. The German take on this whole situation is that the Poles are just as Uncle Adolf said, just subhuman. Look at how much gibs they're taking. They're not contributing anyway, and they refuse to cooperate in anything. Now, I wouldn't want to cooperate in a German program in the current state that it is in now, but they do have a point that there is this sort of resentment in Poland against Germany, that even if this project was / our project, I think the Poles would resent it just as much because it was led by a German, and so it's kind of like with the Irish, some of the Irish resentment against the Anglo.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, I think one thing they really do, like one thing that like elicits a huge cry of enthusiasm in Poland would be like anti-German rhetoric, which, you know.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Just daily reminder. The same thing goes in the Czech Republic. When I was there, I heard that the current the current president, who was just re-elected in his first election many years back, Milos Zeman. He actually slandered his opponent running against him as being Sudetendeutsch, a German, and made fun of his German-sounding surname. And people loved that so much because he was an mainstream politician who was actually using anti-German rhetoric, that he was elected on just with huge popular support. And he was re-elected, was it in December this year, on a strong anti-immigration platform. I remember sitting in a bar in Prague and talking with some shitlibs from Germany about this.
As you do in Prague.
these shitlibs from Berlin, right? And they're like, I can't believe, like, why would the Czechs be anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim? Like, they only take in like 100. It's like, yeah, I mean, you have to take in more until you realize why you hate them. I mean, the argument was completely nonsensical, that you can't hate them until you actually suffer the consequences of mass immigration.
It's a vaccine. I mean, it's going to strengthen your immune system if you.
This fucking retarded shitlib takes was so cancerous that learning from another person's mistake is completely unfathomable, and you can only base something on.
Don't you think you're being so myopic when you say that?
How do you mean?
Don't you just think you're being so unreasonable and short-sighted and myopic when you say you don't want them in? That's literally an argument I had once.
Oh man. Don't ever like engage in any factual conversation with them. Just agree and amplify. Like, it's the one news story that I think is the most telling of where Europe is going under these people's leadership is the one where that old pensioner was in a nursing home, and they had like what's it called? Hired some Somalis to work at the nursing home, and they're just butt fucking. He killed like this old pensioner's wife, and then he butt fucked him. And I think it's like that's the most telling. Like, if that was made into a Ben Garrison cartoon, that would be the best description of where Europe is going. That's the future. Imagine a Somali butt fucking you forever. That's that's the future you want when you're in a nursing home so old that you can't defend yourself. I mean, definitely these people who promote politics that leads to that situation are the ones who are most deserving of that fate. I can't
That's
help
just disturbing, man.
I can't help but be a detached irony, bro, and just sigh and shake, like, fuck you, fuck your policies, fuck your dream for Europe, and hope you get butt fucked by a Somali when you're too old to get out of bed. Anyways, do we have any more stuff about Austria?
Well, a small funny one. They're banning hijab in kindergarten, and this is just pathetic because, like, it should go without saying that kindergarten age girls should not be wearing hijab. It's such a, like, they think they're being really edgy when they're passing things like this. It's like the far right party leaders, like, yes, this is my work, guys. This is my work. Bask upon the greatness of our policies here. It's like, dude, this is actually something that's supposed to be, like, there shouldn't be a law about it. Actually, it should be just a given. It's like some kind of tacitly understood thing. No hijab in kindergartens. It goes without saying. But it is passed now, which is great. I've never seen it myself. I've never seen a kindergarten. I mean, you see them walking in the streets, right? You see like classes of kindergarten kids. I've never seen a girl with a hijab in the kindergarten, which is good. So I don't know. Maybe it's just another like auxiliary law that's put there for no apparent reason.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but what I've understood from Muslims, what they say about the hijab and when they defend it is that they don't actually ask women or their girls to wear it until they're like 11 or 12 or something. So even like if a Muslim man forces his daughter to wear a hijab already in kindergarten, then he's very extreme by Muslim standards, isn't he? Because that's not common.
I have only ever seen them wearing hijabs. Those kids walking by.
Really?
Though granted, in Ireland has more Muslims in ISIS as a proportion than anywhere else in the world. So,
I heard that was Finland, but maybe those numbers are old.
Ireland is ahead.
All right.
There's fewer Muslims here in general, though. So
yeah,
Ireland's winning, guys.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, there was a news piece many years ago in Finland about how we have an extremely low amount of Muslims per capita, but then the Muslims self-report as some of the most extreme in all of Europe. So
thankfully, we have the head of the European Muslim Brotherhood here, so that keeps the terrorism down because they don't want to get cracked down on.
I mean, we can say with safety that they're sending their best if we're getting the most radical elements. Maybe we should just make a great troll. If I was in charge of government, I would say, shit libs, don't worry, I'm one of you. You know, I love homos all day, all night. I'm a super progressive person. I'm going to create the Ministry for Equal Treatment of Homos, and we're gonna take the local leader of ISIS here, Mohammed. You know, because I know I'm a progressive man. I love minorities. I'm gonna put you in charge of this, and then just let the shit show start, so that we have the entire top layer of the organization should be filled with the most radical elements of Islam, and then all the handymen being shit libs, and then they're forced to, I don't know, maybe they'll pass some programs where they hand out leaflets about how God hates fags or something. That would be super fun to see. No, why not? Why not? Like just make Clown World even clown. But it's the best if you put radical Islam against shitty urbanite shit libs. You know, that's the best conflict. That's real popcorn entertainment. I could watch that all day, seeing these urbanite fucking green voters going up against their pet Muslims and trying to explain why it's not right to throw homos off buildings. That's fucking great, man. Oh, well,
here we have the opposite, where we have an American lesbian and a gay Indian telling us that unless you have affirmative consent, it's rape. We need LGBTQ plus sex education in all schools.
So retarded, dude. Ireland, yes, I guess.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I reacted to this video that you just put in chat, Radrax. This Muslim woman, there are too many Finns in Finland. It's a fucking raghead. Jesus Christ.
But I have a feeling that it's just like it's like a troll, to be honest with you. I feel like she's a Finn who's just like who dressed as a Muslim and gave a Muslim name. It's just trolling it.
No, she
this can't be real. Come on.
This is what is Press TV? Where is this from? It looks legit. It's just Finns and Finns and Finns. Oh no, wait. This explains it. Helsinki University of Technology. Okay, so Maya Arianfar here is fucking raghead, right? She's born and raised in Finland, I'm sure, or she came here very young. And now she's been inculcated into the culture and have finally gone to university and learned about how she's being oppressed. Now she's using her newfound Semitic wisdom to tell us that there's too many of us in our own home. Jesus Christ.
Now,
This really gets my blood boiling.
in Ireland, when you go to an institute of technology, you're either learning you're doing like a 2-year degree to be like a school teacher, or some like kind of basically a trade school, or you're a total fucking idiot. Is that what's going on here?
I think it's more of the former that's going on here. That it's not. It shouldn't be a trade school, as far as I know. But I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. But she can dude. Nowadays at these universities, the names never correspond to what degrees they're handing out. So for all I know, she could be a major in sociology.
Yeah, exactly. You do a major in sociology at an IT. You're a fucking dumbass. I'm sorry. Go to a good school. Holy shit.
Oh, fuck, man. It's,
is that what goes on? Like, if you do that in Ireland, it's like, I didn't get enough points to do it in a full university, so I'm doing it in an upscale trade school.
I wonder, since basically it feels like to me when I'm talking with normies that everyone's basically on Sargon of Akkad's level. They think that, oh, that's edgy. I just found this super edgy YouTube channel. Have you? It's like it feels like this information is like it's dripping down into the population at a very slow rate. So we're like, a lot of people are like back in basically where I was in 2012 or something, like the mind a curve, it seems. So maybe these kinds of videos, like this Muslim woman saying there's too many Finns in Finland, that's like, okay, it's a drop in a bucket, but slowly after years there's drop after drop after drop until it finally pours over. And what I mean with that is that there's enough people who finally understand what we're up against, that the cultural Marxist rhetoric has become so mundane, that it's become so basic that even the counter talking points to it, meaning the alt-right talking points, have also become mundane. And then something can actually happen, some real change can happen. Right now there's just too many people on the internet and not enough people in real life who are posting edgy content like we see on Twitter, right-wing Twitter.
Well, I mean, something as brash and just outrageous as this is pretty strategic, because it's so stupid that you're like, how am I even supposed to answer something as stupid? Like, there are too many of the people who belong in this country in the actual country. I don't understand. Like, it's, and then you can probably use a liberal talking point against her and say, well, I mean, here, Muwajir Wahawar Muhammad, whatever, is from Iraq, but he's Finnish, right? So I don't understand. He has a Finnish passport, so I don't understand what you mean by too many Finns in Finland. Ooh.
Nah, I mean, it's something that even, like, this is something that is very hard to understand for Americans, that in Europe we don't have really civic nationalism. It doesn't exist. It's an Anglo concept, an Anglo creation. Everybody understands that to be, a citizen of a country should equal being of the ethnicity of the country, right? So, yeah, so I was once dealing with Canadian exchange students here in Finland. This was long time ago, and they're basically Americans in most senses. They think more like Americans than they think like Europeans. And they were talking about, that they were talking about that Finn over there, because they had heard him speak Finnish. And I look over and it's a black man, and I correct him that that's not a Finn. He's a black man. And then look at me like, well, he speaks Finnish, yeah. And he has a Finnish citizenship. When they say, well, probably, so he's a Finn. It's like, no, there are no black Finns. There are only black men who live in Finland. And the look they gave me, like, because I was, I wasn't thinking about this as something. I was talking politics with them. I was thinking like we were talking about the sky being blue. This was just some basic stuff. I didn't even feel like I was saying anything edgy.
Well, that's the thing. That's exactly my point. Like, you're saying the most basic thing, and they're saying the most outrageous thing, and like there's like this almost interplanetary interaction going on where you're like, how am I supposed to process this argument at all? Because it's just so ridiculous. I mean, that's like, and that's exactly, actually, that's what happened to me with this Korean American woman when I was in the U.S. and she told me she was talking about Germany and whatnot, because she lived in Germany for a while, and she's like, well, I was very surprised to meet Asian Germans. I was very proud. They're doing really well over there. And it's a very enlightening experience. And I was like, well, they're not Germans. They're just Asians who happen to live in Germany. And she was just gonna like projectile vomit in my face. Like she was like, well, that's so discriminatory. How could you say that? I mean, they were born there and they have the German passport. I was like, well, but their DNA is their actual genetics. Their DNA is not from Germany. And she's like,
oh no, and Austrian starts talking about that's danger zone there.
And then I just gave it to her. I was like, well, if I went to Korea, would I be considered Korean if I just lived there and got the passport after 5 or 6 years? She's like, well, no. I was like, well, it's the same thing over there too. So that shut her up.
You have to make those comparisons. Yeah, sometimes
the only way.
The only way you can really debate them is that you reframe the context. Say that, hey, other countries have implicit ethnicities, implicit identities, and so do white countries. It's like that conversation. I hit up Southern Dingo again, talking about this whole white people stuff, and it's sorry, man, we're never gonna become American and become white nationalists and adapt that identity, because we already have achieved racial consciousness. It's you Americans who need to do it. It's just that our racial consciousness basically extends to nationalities and ethnicities, which it always has been in Europe. It's more like what you said, Phineas, that fundamentally Americans are the people who gave up, and they gave up their ethnic identities and became burgers. I'm sorry, they became American. And what Dingo said to me today I was sending him some PMs about this, is that when your continent blackens, you're going to be forced to adopt it anyways. It's inevitable. The march of history is inevitable, and it's better. Wouldn't it be nice to adopt it before becoming necessary? It's like
P.S. I am totally a rightist.
Yeah, it's like this. He thinks of identity as something you can give up what is part of you, and then just take up something that's completely alien to you and just be that. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't.
I will have you know that modern Europeans should be ashamed, but instead they are arrogant while producing zero culture or anything of value outside of Germany, and shop at malls. Michael Jackson on the intercom like hordes of consumerist slaves. Don't be fooled.
Oh my god! If you ever want some good entertainment, go to therightstuff.biz. Go to the Southern AF podcast. Look at the comment section. Look at the comment section there of these TRS people getting super mad at us. Basically saying that, hey, white identity is an American construct. It's never going to sell outside of America. It's not like burgers. And then I called Americans burgers, and then people are so upset in the comments. And thank you, Based Swastika Avatar guy, for giving us on the European channels some of the best laughs we ever had, because those are the worst takes I've ever heard, I've ever come across on any forum. I don't remember what his profile name was, but he's a very big brain nibba when he uses a swastika as an avatar, just one big bold swastika, and he writes about how what you just heard Phineas read. God damn those takes.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty insane over there in the US. To be honest, like I know there's some good people there, but they're so desperate for identity that they put stickers. Like, this is how ridiculous Americans are. They put stickers of the college that they attended on the back of their cars because they think that they stand for something by doing that. Like, these people are so totally like devoid of any meaning or any like ethnic, racial identity or anything. And it's like usually these middle class, white people who do this, and all they can like their maximum level of identification is like, oh, I went to this college, or I support this team. They're really big into supporting stupid sports teams and stuff like.
Or I'm from this state. Oh, Ohio is best state in America. The great state of Nevada.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is the dumbest shit, man, you've ever seen. And they put this on their cars. Like, in Europe, we don't put stickers on our cars. Over there, you go there, like, all these cars have these stupid, like, these retarded stickers that you just look like, oh, Georgetown University. I'm educated. Yeah.
To be fair, American bumper sticker culture has given us an enormous amount of entertainment when retarded people in America put retarded slogans as stickers on their car, like honk if you're a furry and shit like that.
All the Nigerians around here, they have on the backs of their fucking cars, they have stuff like God is real written on it. I think Carl Jung was right about the American spirit. They have an infusion of Africanism.
Dude, just send those Nigerians to America. They'll be happier there, I swear.
Somebody said, I think it was Armenians way back, that the way Americans come across to us when they talk about culture, and this is true mostly for shitlibs, but to some degree also with, unfortunately, alt-righters we come across with. This is more like an American cultural phenomena, is that when they talk about culture and identity, they seem to only be able to conceptualize it in physical objects and brands that they can consume, that all culture can be reduced to meals you can eat at an exotic restaurants, or trinkets and gadgets you can buy at a store, or bumper stickers you can stick on your car, and slogans you can shout, and that's it. There's nothing deeper to it. There is no deeper meaning. Culture is an object to be consumed, and it's an accessory to wear, to flaunt with, and it's nothing real that you live, and it's very hard. I'm being really mean. I'm sorry, American listeners, but this is like in the most crude sense how it comes across to some Europeans, because for us, culture isn't something we can choose. Identity isn't something we choose. It was chosen for us, and it's just how we live becomes the culture, not the other way around. We can't choose a culture. We can't choose to be white. We can't choose to be American. It's just that we are what we are, and that's just what it's gonna be. And we're not in this because we're white. We're in this because we have similar interests and similar goals.
Well, that's what happens, yeah. I mean, the roots have been totally cut off, and I mean, you have to also understand that America was founded as like basically an FU to the rest of the world. So, like, it's founded on the very principle of rebellion, of saying no to like traditional ways of running society. That's the fundament. When Americans say we want to preserve the old America, well, the old America is what produced the current America, which in turn is one of the biggest reasons behind this world's decay. And I really mean that. I don't mean to hate on America in this particular sense, but if America were to tomorrow cease to exist, the world would genuinely be, the U.S. government in particular, if it ceases to exist tomorrow, the world would be a better place as a result, because no other country in the world has done as much damage to itself and to the countries around it as much as the U.S. has. I mean, and that's just plain fact. Like, I know there are great American nationalists out there, but they really have to be careful what it is they want to preserve and what it is they want to get rid of. Because
that's true. Like, just let me interrupt you for a second. It's true that America does have a lot of great people, and the problem is that many of them are so proud that they can't take criticism to heart. That when we say America, we are talking from a European perspective, where we see historically what their country has inflicted upon us. And historically, the two things that either come from America is bombs or pause. We get to choose which one. So we, as a country, as a government, America has always been net negative on Europe. And that continues to be the case. It would have been much greater if the Confederates had won the Civil War, and that would have balanced out the power in North America, so that they would have bombed and passed each other instead of us. I mean, maybe I'm LARPing, sure. Maybe that would have changed stuff, definitely. If for the better, I don't know. But that's just one thought experiment. It's still, anyways, the Americans have a lot of potential to be a lot better than they are now, and I think that most alt-righters understand this inherently. And it might need a balkanization of America at some point in the future to solve those problems, because you can't just put all the races of the world together in one country under one political system and expect it to keep together and work for any prolonged period of time. And then, when it starts to splinter, us Europeans of our political persuasion are going to stand beside and support the faction which is most beneficent to us. And right now, that is the white bloc, the alt-right bloc, the conservative block of whites in America are the ones that we want to back and support when, America at some point disintegrates.
Yeah, Mikey not for president, guys.
Yeah.
Oh man, those little bug eyes. He really should stick to radio, because he's not a pretty face to look at. He has a great voice, but
unlike Dr. David Duke, PhD, former member of the House of Representatives.
Well, he does have a respectable career behind him, and he's an inspirational speaker, and he is a born leader. And I love that he had to be talked out of, just going and fighting with the police in Charlottesville. That was great stuff. Oh man, what a lad! Absolute unit. Hey, we have one story left that we haven't covered yet, and that's the Facebook moderator story from the Netherlands. And this is one of my favorite things I've heard all week. So, Facebook has moderators, right? They have a big office in Berlin, and then they hire people from different ethnicities to basically moderate their individual countries' postings. Now, in the Netherlands, apparently shitposting, led by frothing at the mouse, skinhead, violent murderer Faust, so good at shitposting that the Facebook moderators are literally getting PTSD from reading them. Okay, I'm going to read from the article here. Eric is still struggling with the amount of dredge he is confronted with on a daily basis, and was totally untrained and woefully unprepared to deal with it all. He, like many colleagues, oftentimes feel the urge to reach for narcotics such as alcohol and Valium. A Danish colleague quit after a few months and was admitted to a psychiatric facility with post-traumatic stress disorder. Eventually, Eric resigned after only 8 months. It was too much to wade through the hatred daily for €8.90 per hour. He is still in therapy a year later. The hatred, that is what hits him immediately. I was shocked, he said. The intense hatred against asylum seekers, Moroccan, Dutch, black people. Quote, and everything in the Netherlands is cancer. Cancer boy, cancer guy, cancer whore. In Flanders, it's the Makaken that gets the blame. In the Netherlands, it's the Moroccans. Each area has its own nuisance. violent photos and videos of guns in Latin America, pornography and violence against women in the Middle East. The Portuguese and Greek moderators are relatively calm. In those countries, the users of Facebook use the platform less and also scold people less. Their moderators can sometimes turn to Netflix. This is not the case with Dutch moderators. The Netherlands is the country of hatred, says Eric. Poor man, in therapy for reading hateful posts on Facebook. I can't believe what he's had to go through.
All the English posts in Europe, even if they're not from English-speaking countries, they're moderated in Dublin. And I know a guy who knows a guy who used to work there. They are the biggest bunch of fucking fags imaginable. Like they actively select for people who are total queers to ban this shit. And they also ban some American stuff too. Moderate American stuff too.
It's weird that this weird connection between soyboyism and Silicon Valley. That anything that's related in any ways to technology and IT, that they really try to get the biggest soy boys and queers as possible.
Well, hey, you're moderating Facebook, so you got to make sure you ban as much as possible. Otherwise,
which is why Silicon Valley is like 50% Asian. So there's there's your answer.
So this article I'm reading from directly translated from Dutch, so keep that in mind when reading his. He says, Eric sees one after another message about Simons passing by. Go back to your monkey country. I throw your black cunt in the canal, or die whore, all aloud. It's a terrible hatred, racism, scolding. Oh man, this is absolute gold. I didn't know that the Dutch were infamous for their bans, but I stand corrected. Apparently, this is some pretty hardcore stuff. I mean, Dutch shit posters, keep at it. I'm doing a thumbs up right now. You can't see it, but I love it. Like, the more of these faggy soy boys you can send into therapy and turn into dysfunctional alcoholics, the better. Just fuck up their shit. Go on Facebook right now and write the most hateful comments you can about Moroccans, and you know that you make one blitz really happy, because we all know that some gay ass moderator in Berlin is going to read that and not be able to sleep that night. All right. I wonder, it would be fun to work at the Facebook moderating team. Just green light everything and then start just ban people who post cringy content. People who say that the Antifa are Nazis for wanting to silence political speech. Those are the people I would ban.
I'm sure they have like a trigger room or something in the office, or like some kind of safe space zone where they just like huddle together and I don't know, like do weed or something.
Yeah. Oh man, goddamn Facebook, so gay.
I mean, Google's better though. You get to slide down to the cafeteria. Do you know this? Like in their office, they built a slide in their office that can take you from your desk to the cafeteria, and you can hold your laptop while sliding down to the cafeteria. So you can. I mean, isn't that just a dream?
I just imagine this curly slide, and every 3 seconds, a soy boy with a receding hairline and a patchy beard with that soy boy grin on his face, sliding down with his Apple computer in labs like, wee, wee. That's what I now imagine the Google offices to look like. Hey guys, have you seen this new Nintendo Switch commercial? They let you play with cardboard boxes. What? Did you see the new Star Wars? Wow, Rey is my favorite character. Fuck these people, man. Fuck them. Jesus Christ. Soy boys. I don't know where they come from. what powers them? What is it? Because I know that I'm a strong believer in souls and the divine, and that God gave breathed life and consciousness into humans, that we became human. But since there's not a shred of humanity in these techie soy boys, I wonder what it is that animates them. Like, is it machinery, like with Zuckerberg, or are they just like NPCs, and we're living in a anime, like a simulated universe, and they basically run out of the guys running our Matrix who write the backstory and characters. They've basically gone tired. Like, fuck it, I don't care anymore.
No, I disagree.
Too many characters right now, and then they just spit out these cotton dry NPCs, and that's where we have this soy boy epidemic from.
You know, in the Unabomber's manifesto, where he says, if you're not willing to completely commit yourself to destroying the technological system, you should just adapt yourself to it. I think these are the guys who are just coping better than we are.
Oh no!
I think they've adapted.
Oh no! Oh, what a depressing thought. Yeah, that humanity has created such a beast that is a new and modern environment, that we have to adapt ourselves to this monster that is modernity, and we have to adapt to it to survive in it, and in the process we lose our humanity. Wow. I have no face, but I must scream. I have no Facebook because I was banned, and I must scream at immigrants. Oh, fuck me. You know, it's broke going up on the Alps to with Lauren Thothern to scream at immigrants. Woke going on Facebook to scream at immigrants, to give gay-ass moderators PTSD. I would say this week in shitposting, I would say France 0, Netherlands 1. They win this round. Good job.
Yeah, I agree. I'm more than happy to give Netherlands this one. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, man, I wonder if Pusher was there, if this happened in France.
I think maybe he was actually part of it.
Yeah.
Like, people, I don't know.
he was there. He was trying to convince the immigrants to read NPC.
He was leading it. He was leading the offensive for sure. I think that's why he couldn't make it this week.
Absolutely. Phineas, did you have any content?
No, just the NEETbux and the
NEETbux
and the mountains shit, which you know more about than I do.
Oh man, I really, really hoped for a split second that big snowball tweet was not a troll and real. You saw that one where they had, you know,
nope.
It was great because they had actually there was a picture of a huge snowball in that tweet, you know, the one that you can roll down a hill that's like bigger than a person. And I'd only seen footage of like the immigrants like walking up the mountain, and there was snow. So for a split second I thought, no, please be real. Imagine that throwing immigrants down the mountain with snowballs. Oh man, that should be their next publicity stunt. They had slapped. Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to favorite this tweet. Fucking hell.
That's brilliant. I mean, that's like the white weapon of choice, snow. You know, that's it, man. This is.
Yeah, fucking hell. It's
Patrick Casey's competition, boasting of making man traps in the mountains.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what Defend Europa actually does.
They were the guys who got that boat, and they were yelling at minorities to turn back for a couple of months until they got arrested.
We represent Europe. Oh no, we're getting arrested right now. Holy shit, by Europeans.
Now, honest question. Who does more to save the white race? Think about this. Is it A, Defend Europa, pays thousands and thousands of euros to get a boat to yell at minorities on the seas and then get arrested? Or B, me spend no money sitting at home playing Europa Universalis 4, creating the German Reich, and then shitposting in a microphone?
What about C, me and the other Norwegians who are just being really, really racist in an Uber car whilst the Pakistani was driving it?
It's okay. They tend to not speak English.
Or what comes after C? D, yeah. It's like, or me just sneakily drawing a swastika over a Jewish star when no one's watching. Now that's a real contender there.
What you doing there, Austrian?
Powerful fourth generation warfare maneuver.
Exactly. Oh fuck! I mean, yeah, somebody's gonna see that. You're like, I bet like somebody sees that and it's like, shit. He has a point. Maybe I should watch The Greatest Story Never Told. See that swastika. Oh man, I remember being in primary school, and I saw a lot of swastikas like scribbled on the walls and etched into the benches and stuff like that. And whenever some cat lady teacher got mad at that, everyone just picked up that, oh shit, this is like it's kind of like a bad word. You can't say, teach a child, say never use that word, that's a bad word. As soon as the adults are gone, everybody's using the new bad word they just learned. So just as soon as the cat lady teachers flipped the shit that somebody had like etched a swastika into the bench, then the next week there was 20 new ones over the walls and on the playground and stuff like that. And damn, I'm sure that there's like some person somewhere who doesn't understand this at all. Some really bad alt-right poster who once like, I just took my daughter to school and I saw 7 swastikas. Huh? Guess Generation C really is woke. Oh my god! Doesn't mean anything. It's no different than like an 8-year-old saying "fuck" because he just learned that that's a bad word. Imagine
Interpreting the dicks drawn on fucking school books as like LGBT positivity. Would you do that?
Yeah, but I'm like literally. I actually like cat lady sex ed teachers when I was like 13 or something who would literally do this psychoanalysis on literally every single dick anyone drew or any sexual reference 13-year-old boys said. It's just the most retarded shit I've ever heard in school.
If they're good at it, you can get them to shut up by embarrassing them. But I presume she wasn't.
No, I mean, if you're already a 40-plus-year-old woman who teaches 13-year-olds sex ed and takes yourself super seriously and sees yourself as an academic who knows how to psychoanalyze penises drawn on the school board, then you can't be embarrassed anymore because you can't sink any lower.
Oh, and also, like, this is what happened in my school. The same exact, like, cat lady psycho bitch showed a film with Tom Hanks, I think, where he's a fag and he dies because of HIV. It's a movie about HIV, but it's more about gay rights. So they make you feel sorry for. They make you feel so. They use HIV as a way to make you feel sorry for fags, which I thought was just the most sly thing possible. So it's not really a movie about HIV per se, but it's a movie about appreciating faggotry and that fags have feelings too. So there.
Oh, fuck, dropped my microphone there. Jesus. All right. Yeah. Sorry. I lost my train of thought there when I dropped my microphone on the floor. Should we? We're coming up on 1.5 hours here. We've had some great snowball posting and powerful moves by you, Redorax, to draw swastika. I'm sure that you just saved the next generation. And
doing my part, man. Doing my part.
Yeah, we're indebted to you. So, all right, but I think we're gonna round up the episode here. If you have any questions to us, you can email us at europaweekly@protonmail.com and follow us, Europa Weekly Twitter. It's my account, so it's at BlitzyBlatzy. And Redorax, do you want to plug yourself? Do you have Twitter?
Sorry, no, man. I'm off grid with all these things.
You're off the grid. You're living in a hut like Varg Vikernes.
I've taken his advice to heart. I'm speaking to you from like the Austrian Alps. I yodel for like for the first 4 hours of the morning, and then I just eat cabbage, and now I'm just finishing my day off with this podcast. So yeah, it's been very productive. It's very, very productive.
Nice. Yeah, it was great that you could come on with such a short notice. And with that, we're gonna say see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.